Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Let me get this banner out the way. Welcome, everybody. Please hit that like button. Look, I got my little palettes and stuff out because I'm not all the way. I want to shout everybody out in the channel. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. I got my coffee now. I was running. I was. We got a little bit of I wouldn't necessarily, well, let me just say that. And I want to give, hold up, y'all. Breaking. Here we go. I want to give some credit to someone on Twitter that honestly has been keeping, first of all, is a journalist by the name of Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press. The reason why I know about this lawsuit is because of Mr. Matthew from Inner City Press. I paid my $5 on Patreon and he actually uploaded the lawsuit. And again, Mr. Matthew Russell Lee is the one that was giving us updates during the Diddy hearing and the bail hearing specifically. So keep that in mind. So I went over there and I paid my little $5. And, first of all, I feel like I got this lawsuit quicker than Pacer at this point because the way Pacer works and they like to lock you out of shit and everything. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Anyways, so welcome everybody. We do have a new lawsuit that has been filed and we got to talk about it. We have to talk about it. So let me show it to you guys right now. Now, how come I can't show y'all this screen? Let me see. Let me see if I can show you guys this screen right here. Lord have mercy. I have not read this lawsuit, so you guys are going to get my reaction. My reaction as you go and get it. That's it. You're going to get it. Can you guys see that? Let me know. Make sure you guys see this. Everybody sees it. It's a new lawsuit from the offices of Gloria Allred. Hey, Grape Tea. Hey, love. You enjoy the calm before the storm. Kelly, if you guys missed our live yesterday, it was a little litty. So make sure you guys check out the video from yesterday. And it wasn't my fault. It was your guys' fault. I blame you for making my channel a mess sometimes. Shout out to you, though. I love you. Y'all got it? Not Gloria Allred office. Yep, Gloria Allred. So this was just filed. Hell, I mean, today's the 24th. So we got the documents today. You said Gloria has entered the chat. Oh man, no, not. All right, welcome everybody. Let me give the people some time to get in here. And get in here so we can read this lawsuit. I have not read this lawsuit, so please note that we have, for those that are coming through, we have another Diddy lawsuit that has been filed. Another Diddy lawsuit that has been filed. Another one, right? Another one. And I was over here minding my business, working on a video that y'all are going to really find very interesting. That's going to be uploaded pertaining to Jennifer Lopez and Santeria. I didn't even know all the tea on that. That's interesting. We'll get into that later on. So we have another one. All right. I think the people are in here for the most, part. And I'm going to get that soundbite. He partied with Diddy too, by the way, I think. I'm pretty sure of it. He probably got some stories of DJ Khaled out there. Another one. We need to have that soundbite. So every time a new lawsuit comes in, because this would be like lawsuit, number 6 or 7 at this point? I don't even know. He did party, right? Another one. So is he going to go down too? We'll make sure we play that. Another one. I'm going to need that soundbite. All right, here we go. Get it together. Get your little coffees. I have not read this, so this is new to me, okay? So here we have plaintiff is Thalia Graves, okay? And she's suing basically the whole industry empire of Bad Boy between the productions, the holdings, Joseph Sherman, who is another name that's going to come up here fairly quickly, and the whole organization. This is a lawsuit. Here we go. So, introduction. In or around the summer of 2001, plaintiff's life was violently knocked off course when defendants Sean Coase and Joseph Sherman viciously raped her. Ooh, okay. I'm going to have to censor myself in certain words. Please know that. At the Bad Boy Record Studio in New York, plaintiff was 25 at the time, dating one of Combs' employees, a relationship that Combs exploited to lure plaintiff into meeting him and Sherman alone. Once they successfully sequestered plaintiff, Combs and Sherman gave plaintiff a drink, likely laced with drugs, that eventually caused her briefly to lose consciousness. She woke to find herself bound and restrained. All right, so let me hit the y'all trigger warning, please note that, because clearly we're gonna be talking about some really tough stuff over here. I don't know if I have a trigger. I thought I had a little tickler for a trigger for those that are coming through. Please note that we're about to talk. We're about to talk about some. Here's my trigger warning. Some pretty tough stuff right now. Please note that. If you don't want to hear this, it's okay to log off. Matter of fact, I would prefer that you do. Okay. Hooey. Combs and Sherman proceeded to brutally abuse and violate plaintiff. Combs mercilessly ard her anally and vaginally. Sherman forcefully slammed plaintiff onto a table, slapped her, and repeatedly thrusted his man part into her mouth. Okay. Both men were hold up. Sorry, I could hear some noise in the background. I just need to make sure that I don't hear this ringing in my no, hold up, y'all. Sorry about that. Just want to make sure I silence this. Both men were undeterred by plaintiff's cries for help throughout the attack. Plaintiff never recovered from defendant's violent R. She had suicidal thoughts and ideations and had received extensive psychological treatment because of defendant's attacks. For decades, she remained silent and did not report the crime out of fear the defendants would use their power to ruin her life, as they had repeatedly, explicitly threatened to do so. To this day, plaintiff suffers from severe depression, anxiety, and panic attacks and still lives in fear of defendants. Any progress plaintiff has made in healing from the attacks over the years was dramatically reversed on or about November 27th of 2023, when she learned for the first time that Combs and Sherman had video recorded the horrific R 22 years before and had shown the video to multiple men seeking to publicly degrade and humiliate both plaintiff and her boyfriend. Oh, shit. So, sorry, y'all. I need to get a drink. Okay. All right. Sorry. Plaintiff could not believe that defendant would record themselves committing such a gruesome crime and then proceed proudly and widely to disseminate the recording of it. She was distraught, sunk into a deep depression. She again considered ending her life. This action seeks... Oh man, hold up. This action seeks redress. I'm sorry, y'all. I could feel myself getting mad reading this, honestly. This is why I have to stop. So please forgive me if I'm stopping. I feel myself getting really upset reading this, to be honest with you. This action seeks redress for defendants brutalizing, misogynistic, and violent attacks on plaintiff, starting in 2001 with their R and continuing in the subsequent years as they compounded her humiliation by showing the video of the sexual assault to others. These are the parties. Plaintiff Thalia Graves is a female who resides in Harris County, Texas. Defendant Sean Combs is a male who, on information I believe, resides in Los Angeles, California, though at the time of the filing was incarcerated in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Literally they wrote this while he was incarcerated. Okay, while he's in custody, basically. On information and belief, at all relevant times, Combs own and or control Bad Boy Entertainment Holding. Okay, and all the LLCs and businesses are up there. The facts of Combs' ownership and title at the Combs corporations enabled him to commit the unlawful S acts, violent S acts against plaintiff described herein, and or to harass and subsequently intimidate her into the silence after the R. Defendant Joseph Sherman, aka Big Joe, is a male who, on information and belief, resides in Westchester County, New York. On information and belief, Sherman was employed by Combs and or by the Combs Corporation during the relevant period. The facts of Combs' ownership and titles and Sherman's titles at the Combs Corporation enable Sherman to commit the unlawful sexual violence against plaintiff described herein, and or to harass and subsequently intimidate her into silence after the R. Defendant Daddy's House Recording is a domestic business corporation that is incorporated in New York, and on information and belief that has its principal place of business. The address is there. Combs is listed as the CEO in public filings. Okay, we're not going to read the addresses, but they're there. At the time of events alleged herein, Daddy's House was a world-class recording studio owned by Combs. Located address. On information and belief at all relevant times, Bad Boy and Combs together owned and operated Daddy's House. On information and belief, the Bad Boy recording studio was located on the premises of Daddy's House. So we have more information about the locations so everybody's aware. Combs and Sherman used the Daddy's House premises and their ownership and title at the Daddy's House to commit the unlawful violent acts against plaintiff described herein, and or to harass and subsequently intimidate her into silence after the R. Okay, so we have more addresses here. And it says, on information, I believe all members of Combs Global are citizens of Delaware, New York, and or California. On information and belief, Combs Global is an alter ego for Combs and or a successor in interest to Combs and other corporations, and or was established or used by Combs for the purposes of moving, disposing of, and or insulating his assets, including in connection with his criminal activities, and to avoid liability. Combs Global currently owns, controls, and oversees Bad Boy and Combs' other businesses ventures in the music, fashion, fragrance, beverage, marketing, film, television, and media industries. As part of his renowned Bad Boy record label and brand, Combs has established several corporate entities under Bad Boy. Excuse me. So let me stop right here for those that are coming in. Shout out to everybody. We have a new lawsuit that literally just dropped this morning. The reason I found out about this lawsuit is because Mr. Matt Russell Lee from Inner City Press dropped it on his Patreon. Shout out to Mr. Matt Lee, because like I said, when it comes to getting a lawsuit, Pacer sometimes takes a minute. Mr. Matt Lee was able to upload it on his Patreon. He is one of the journalists that has been giving us basically up-to-date details every time there's, the Diddy hearings that were happening. He gave us up-to-date details of everything that was going on. So I, of course, bought the Patreon with my $5 and, to support this man and his journalistic work. Shout out to him again. For those that are coming in, please know this is a new Diddy lawsuit. We have a new victim by the name of Thalia Graves, and she is alleging some pretty horrific stuff that has happened to her. And apparently there was a video that was held in October of 2023. Apparently that video, she found out that this video was out there of her 22 plus years later of her brutal and horrific R-ing. Okay, so for those that are coming in, that is what's being had. All right. Moving on. Okay. On information and belief, all Bad Boy corporate entities are alter egos of Combs. and are controlled or directed by Combs and or were established or used by Combs for the purposes of moving, disposing, or insulating his assets, including in connection with his criminal activities and avoiding liability. Okay. On information and belief, all active Bad Boys entities are now owned and or controlled by Combs and or by Combs Global. So they're basically establishing, I guess, entities, the LLC. There's a bunch of LLC for, Diddy Combs. So keep that in mind. And then another person that's mentioned, another defendant, is someone by the name of Joseph Sherman, aka Big Joe. Okay, for those that are coming through, just so you guys can catch up. And I promise you, I will acknowledge super chats and everything when I'm ready. Okay. So let's get through this so we can read it and talk a little bit about it. And I put the biggest trigger warning in the chat because it's pretty graphic what's being said here. Okay. Combs and Sherman used the Bad Boy Enterprise recording studios and their ownership and titles at Bad Boy to commit the unlawful sexual violence against plaintiff described herein and or to harass and subsequently intimidate her into silence after the R. Defendant Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings is a domestic business. Okay, so we know that it's in New York. That on information and believe has now principal address listed there in California. All right. Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings is part of the Bad Boy Enterprise, founded and owned by Combs, and on information and belief is now owned and or controlled by Combs and or Combs Global. All right. So we got more addresses and listings. Defendant Bad Boys Production Holdings. So they're basically listing every address that's already listed up there. And I think part of it is, maybe jurisdiction. Okay. So everybody's aware. This is why I'm not going through every address, but the lawsuit is naming everyone. And for those that don't know, this lawsuit is from Gloria Allred's office. Okay. Keep that in mind. All right, let's keep going. So Bad Boy Books Holding Inc. is part of Bad Boy Enterprise, founded and owned by Combs, and on information and belief is now controlled by Combs. Okay, the CEO listed is Eddie Norwood Jr. And there's an address for the place of business as well. And then they list the Bad Boy LLC, so everybody's aware. Okay, and I'm just gonna, again, this is just information that needs to be in a lawsuit, but let me scroll down to see if there's anything else other than the addresses and the LLC. Okay. Defendants organizational does 1 through 10 are currently unknown entities, or excuse me, does 1 through 10 are currently unknown entities by and or employed by defendants Combs and or Sherman, and enable the commission of the conduct complaint of herein. As the parties engage in discovery, plaintiffs retain the right to amend the complaint to add these entities by name. Now, if you guys remember in a lawsuit, they put the John Does and the Does. So like organizational Does, I would assume is because of the fact that, they can go after other people or other organizations that have yet to identify them in this lawsuit if they need to. Okay. Keep that in mind. So each of the Combs corporations aid and abetted Combs and Sherman in committing the unlawful sexual acts against plaintiff described herein, and or in harassing and subsequently intimidating her into silence after the R. Provided Combs and Sherman with the studio office space where they committed the R, and or with the storage equipment to record the R and disseminate it, are altered egos of Combs and completely dominated by him, used for his personal interest to engage in wrongdoing which harm plaintiff and others, and or serve or have served as vehicles for Combs to move, dispose of, and or insulate his assets, including in connection with his criminal activities, and to avoid compensating the victims of his crimes, including plaintiff. So you imagine, let me stop right here. Because they're going to get into jurisdiction and venue and all this other stuff. And I'm going to go back to that paragraph. It's not a long paragraph. And then it gets to, jurisdiction and venue and whatnot. But you imagine that you are a young girl, right? And, you were given a drink and you don't remember anything, and they recorded your R-ing. You and another person were recorded in this R-ing, and the raids happen, or at least they start looking into Diddy. And as soon as they start finding these videos or whatever, it turns out, and I'm going to read it, it's on number 5. Any progress plaintiff has made in healing from the attack over the years was dramatically reversed on or around November 27th of 2023, when she learned for the first time that Combs and Sherman had video recorded the horrific R-ing 22 years later before, and had shown the video to multiple men seeking to publicly degrade and humiliate both plaintiff and her boyfriend. So plaintiff could not believe that defendant would record themselves committing such gruesome crime, and then proceeded proudly and widely to disseminate the recording of it. She was distraught and sunk into a deep depression. She again considered ending her life. That's what I want to know. Like, Snowflake, I hear you. For the victim, when you say, but why now? For anybody coming forward with any kind of allegation, everybody has different timing. It should be now if it's now for anybody. Why not now? That's always my question. My question is, though, and it's a little bit like, listen, if they have this video and if it was disseminated, the people that received that video and the people that watched that should be liable. Because you're going to tell me that this woman, that there's this video of these victims 22 years later, and everybody shared the information and they used it to degrade them, or her specifically. To me, it's like, what about those people? What about those ones that watched it? What about those that received this material and have not been convicted of that? So people watch somebody get AR'd and AR'd over and over and over and over and didn't say anything about it, and y'all just received the information. So for the victim and for anybody else who's a victim, it's never like, why now? It's always, why not now? Because my timing is not your timing. My healing is not your healing. And it's going to be different for everybody. You know what I mean? And the thing is to a certain degree, when Cassie came out, what did they do? They made her look like she was crazy. And then what happened? Months after, the CNN video hit, and what happened? Oh, Cassie was right. She was so right, you guys. She was not lying. She was not lying. So to me, it's come out what you need to come out, because it's not my journey and it's not my healing. It's yours as a victim. Do what you have to do. But you know what? Let these people, if somebody received this woman's R-ing video, they need to be held responsible as well. They need to be held responsible as well. Period. Thank you, Robin. Robin said it took me 17 years to talk. It takes people time to get there. That's how it is. That's how it is. I got you. Why are the ones who protected Diddy at the top giving him the up? That's what I'm saying. I hear you. And that's the question that we all, shout out to Snowflake. That's the question that we all want to know, right? Like, we all want to know what has happened. If any of these people received this video and nobody did anything about it, I got a problem. I got a problem. Those people, and I'm anybody. It could have been Usher. It could have been Trey Songz. Anybody who saw this video and just sat there and was complicit and thought this shit was funny, especially the people that have gone to the radio stations like Young Jock. And I'm just thinking of a lot of people who have talked about Diddy parties and thought that the shit was funny. Yeah, and then you have Damon Dash who wants to act like, well, I was not part of those parties. I was part of the other parties. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. All right, Damon. Let's get to the factual allegations, okay? Y'all ready? And again, this is the biggest trigger warning. Exactly, Devil Doll. Tell them, hold them all accountable. Period. That's it. There's nothing else to it. Thank you. I'm not even Vicky. I'm not even there yet. I'm gonna be. This is me. And I apologize because it took me a minute to. I like to read a lawsuit before I go live, but I just happened to go live and read this lawsuit with you guys. So you guys are getting my like. If I stop and I have to take a minute, please be patient with me because I'm also reacting to this with you guys. So there are people who pay to see the video. Thank you, Vicky. So how come those people aren't held accountable? Because a crime was happening and this woman was violated, right? And y'all watch this woman be violated over and over and over and paid that shit. And she didn't even realize it until November of 2023. You mean last year? That's crazy. But remember when I had told you guys, I said, it seems to me that Diddy's connections could be into the adult entertainment industry, that we should look into that. Let's keep reading, okay? Plaintiff's family immigrated to New York when plaintiff was a teenager in connection with her mother's work. Her family ultimately settled in Rego Park, Queens, where she completed her education and where she was living when she met Combs. Defendant Combs, also known by his stage name Puff Daddy, Diddy, yada, 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 Brother Love, whatever, whatever, is a prominent rapper, record executive, and businessman. He rose to fame in 1990. I'm like tired of reading lawsuits that have the like Diddy's bio because it's like we know the story already, but I get it. It has to be said. And continued to be a notable figure in the music and entertainment industry in the following years. Combs has continued to amass wealth and power through his business ventures in the music, fashion, fragrance, beverage, marketing, film, television, and media industries. Now, the Bad Boy Enterprise is the foundation of Combs' wealth and power. Bad Boy has sold over 500 million records, though it's a lucrative distribution deals with the top music companies in the world. And has signed acclaimed hip hop and R&B artists, including the Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, and Usher. Combs later founded CEOPCO LLC, aka Combs Enterprise. Okay. Later were branded as Combs Global to serve as a home for his portfolio of businesses, including his investments in the music, fashion, fragrance, beverage, marketing, film, television, and media industries. On information and belief, Combs Global houses Bad Boy and other notable businesses such as Combs Fashion Line, Sean John, his vodka line, Ciroc, and his cable media company, Revolt Media. As detailed below through 64, Combs has a long history of violence and abusing and R-ing women. There have been several civil lawsuits filed against Combs in the past year, alleging several sexual assaults and abuse. On September 16, 2024, Combs was arrested and charged with the racketeering and sex trafficking. He was denied bail. Defendant Sherman, also known as Big Joe, was employed by Combs as his bodyguard and head of security during the relevant time period described herein and served in various roles in the Combs Corporation. Sherman is also the founder of Rhyme and Dimes magazine, New York State registered corporation, and through or in connection with the company produces and distributes pornography. First time reading this. Look at this shit. We need to take a note of that. Wait. Hold up. Let me get my little composition book because like I said, I've been taking a lot of notes. All right, hold up. Pornography. Remember when that's interesting, right? Like he might not be the head. There might not be like he's a business owner of a pornography anything, but this was going to come about. We knew that this was going to come about. Man sitting on I don't know how many tapes. You think he's not connected somehow to the porn industry? You said he put the video on dark web, so there are people who pay to see the video. Thank you so much, Vicky, for saying that again. Shout out to everybody. Disclaimer. Thank you so much, love. This video discusses essay, violence against women, and other. Thank you, love. Shout out to you guys. Yes, please and thank you. And I promise you guys that I will acknowledge super chats here in a little bit. I just want to read this and, kind of process the information with you guys before I go there. Okay. Thank you guys. On information and belief, he has often distributed videos of his and or his friends' sexual assaults through his pornography company. You know all those videos that you see on Twitter sometimes, like if you're not careful, or X, doesn't it have you make you wonder if some of those people are actually consenting or are they being assaulted? Like you have to kind of wonder about that. Okay? Yes. Over time, plaintiff became familiar with Combs and he knew about her relationship with her boyfriend. Defendant tricks, drugs, and violently R's plaintiff. In or around the summer of 2001, plaintiff received a call from Combs concerning her boyfriend employment at Bad Boy. He told her he wanted to meet with her in person to discuss the boyfriend supposed performance issues. Her boyfriend was determined to climb up the ladder at Combs' record label, and as his romantic partner, plaintiff was committed to helping him. Plaintiff agreed to meet with Combs. In retrospect, it was evidently a sick and twisted way of using his ownership of and title at Bad Boys and its affiliate entities to abuse plaintiff and also show his power and ability to humiliate her boyfriend, his executive. A few hours later, Combs arrived at plaintiff's mother's residence in Queens with Sherman, who was employed by Combs as his bodyguard at the time. Sherman was driving an SUV and Combs was in the back seat. After plaintiff entered the vehicle, Combs offered her a glass of wine, which she accepted. Combs began discussing his alleged concerns over her boyfriend's performance at work. Meanwhile, as plaintiff drank what had been handed to her, she started to feel lightheaded, dizzy, physically weak. In retrospect, it is clear that Combs had caused a drug to be put into plaintiff's drink, as a few sips of wine had never impacted her that way. Combs and Sherman drove plaintiff to the Bad Boy studio in Manhattan. When they arrived, plaintiff tried to get out of the car. She realized she was feeling odd and found it difficult to walk. She assumed this was her fault, and she did her best to act normal. And she followed Combs as he led her eventually to a couch in a private room in the Bad Boy studio. She later came to understand this was Combs' personal lounge and office at the Bad Boy studio. Combs sat on the couch next to plaintiff and continued speaking to her. Plaintiff began feeling even more woozy and sedated. She then lost consciousness. When plaintiff regained consciousness, she was naked. Her hands were tied behind her back with what felt like a plastic grocery bag. Plaintiff shouted for help, and in response, Sherman lifted her up from the couch and forcibly slammed her face down on what was apparently a pool table. Hold up, y'all. Listen, if I need a minute, I know you guys need a minute. So just, yeah, this is just, anyways. Shortly thereafter, Combs entered the room naked. Combs reached for a container of lubricant that smelled like menthol and proceeded to apply it to his area. He then bent plaintiff over the table, causing her feet to dangle above the floor, forcibly held her down, and penetrated her, okay, without her consent. I'm not reading every word. Plaintiff is 4 feet 11 inches tall and weighed only 103 pounds at that time. Plaintiff was unable to move, totally overpowered physically, in addition to being drugged and bound. And this was in a video, you guys. Like, this was in a video. Okay? Plaintiff screamed out of pain, but Combs continued to violently ard her anally. Okay. He easily physically overpowered her, smashing her head down on the pool table while she tried to wiggle out from under him. During the brutal attack, plaintiff vomited into her mouth and on the table. At one point, she involuntarily defecated. Combs was undeterred. He wiped himself off, applied more lubricant, and without any acknowledgement of plaintiff's distress, proceeded to penetrate plaintiff. Plaintiff experienced intense pain and burning sensations in her vagina and anus. Plaintiff continued to scream for help because of the extreme pain she felt as Combs penetrated her over and over. She then lost consciousness again. The next time she regained consciousness, plaintiff was on the couch and Sherman was standing in front of her with this bare area in her face. Sherman slapped plaintiff in the face and forcefully inserted his area into her mouth. Sherman slapped her yet again and continued to thrust his area into plaintiff's mouth. Plaintiff once again lost consciousness. When she next awoke, plaintiff was on the couch, naked and alone in the room. Plaintiff was in severe pain and distress. Her areas burned, her face and wrists were bruised, and her genital area smelled strongly of menthol. She felt a liquid, presumably semen, dripping from the inside of her. Her dress was torn over her. Her purse was on the couch next to her, and her bra was on the floor nearby. She did not see her underpants. Terrified that Combs and Sherman would return, plaintiff quickly got dressed and bolted out of the studio where she had been ard. Still dizzy and weak, plaintiff called a driver that her family regularly hired and knew well. The driver picked her up from the outside of Bad Boy Studio. She was disheveled, crying uncontrollably, and suffered from agonizing pain. The driver drove her to the hospital and tried to convince her to report the R-ing and get a R kit, but she was unable to leave the car, shaking and crying hysterically and terrified of what Combs would do to her and her family if she reported him. The aftermath and the impact of the R on plaintiff. Let me stop right here. Is everybody okay, y'all? Let me know. I just want to make sure, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm reading it with you guys. So if I make mistakes, please don't. It's just me really reacting with you guys. And I do apologize. I had a little reaction to it too, because this is just really triggering. Let me shout out some people. Thank you again. Christina, my love, thank you for being a member, supporting my channel for so long. I appreciate you so much. You're always in my comments. You know I love you, girl. Thank you so much. Thank you. Jay McCarthy, thank you for the 5 high rabbit. Caught your life for the first time. Wow, this is so sad and terrifying. This victim is so brave. I agree. Jay, thank you again for the 10. Conspiracy theory is that he's a sacrifice, an attempt to save anyone from screaming for justice right now. There's no way he is the spider in this web. Just another bug. Maybe the partner getting devoured. I agree, Jay. I think that there's somebody bigger behind Diddy, and we need to be mindful of that. Thank you, Jay, for your support. And I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. Catherine Rivers says, is it the Thalia, the song that no one else? Is it the Thalia, that song no one else with Fat Joe? I don't know. And I'd have to look. I can't remember. I don't remember a Thalia. Maybe I do. And it's just, sorry, you guys, because I'm like, it's just so infuriating. And I'm like trying to fight back a lot of my thoughts. And so I should have read this before I went live, but you guys are getting my reaction. And literally, I'm just going to stop right here. Just process this a little bit more. And knowing that there's a video of this, and this man was not held liable. And give me one sec, y'all. Let me move my camera real quick because I'm having a hard time seeing my screen. And knowing that that like nobody hold like this, there's videos of this, and like nobody has a like, I just don't get it. I don't get how vile this industry really is. And I think that we're just understanding it, but at the same time, what is the excuse? What's everybody's excuse for this? There is no excuse. Yes, thank you, Hamden. The document is very graphic, so please note that. And Wim, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. If you guys got a membership from Wim, please put a heart in the chat for Wim. I can't find my hearts right now because I just can't even really look at my screen like that. So I'm just going to continue reading. So thank you, Wim. I appreciate you. You know, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, Plaintiff sustained serious physical injuries in the aftermath of the R. As noted, she had burning in her areas and bruising on her wrists and face. In the days after the assault, she suffered prolonged and anal bleeding and hemorrhoids. Because of Combs' power and notoriety, plaintiff was afraid to report what had happened. She was involved in a contentious divorce and custody battle at the time and feared that reporting the R would cause her to lose custody of her child. Very notable. I mean, I think I would be scared. Like, if she's telling these details, and then there's a video of this too. You know how many people don't report out of fear? And then imagine having your attacker continue to rise in the ranks and, you know, continue to party and have these white parties and sit in the table with the likes of all these other people and leaders. And like, this is so much. This is too much. But people knew about this and didn't say anything, yo. Like, yes, thank you, Articulate. The custody battles and divorce is a serious issue. Many of us keep quiet. That's a real thing, too. Thank you for saying this. Very real. Plaintiff confided in her boyfriend, Combs' employee, hoping that he would comfort and support her. But instead of supporting her, he discouraged her from disclosing the assault and telling her that it could negatively impact his own career. Isn't that what everybody's worried about? Their careers? Whew. Following the assault and multiple times over the years, both Combs and Sherman contacted plaintiff and warned her to be silent, threatening repercussions, including plaintiff potentially losing custody of her son if she ever disclosed the assault. Because of their enormous power in the industry, including through their ownership of and position at the Combs Corporation, plaintiff knew that they could not follow through on their threats. That they could follow, excuse me, plaintiff knew that they could follow through on their threats. Plaintiff told close friends that Combs and Sherman had drugged and savagely arred her, but as noted, was afraid to report the attack to the police out of fear the defendant would follow through on their threats. She was even afraid to stay in New York City while Combs lived there. So with the help of a friend, she flew to Pennsylvania. Plaintiff has in fact relocated multiple times throughout the years in an effort to stay away from Combs. Plaintiff has suffered irreparable harm because of the brutal R-ing by defendants Combs and Sherman. She suffered from severe depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. She also has suffered suicidal ideation and intrusive thoughts and has attempted to end her own life. Okay. One, I have to say something that just came to my mind. I think I'm going to go back again and figure out the date of this because this was around the time that I believe he was with J Lo, and that's my thing. It's like J Lo, like if you were with this man while he was doing these heinous acts, okay, in one way or another, look at the time frame and timeline of what these victims are saying. You have to go back and figure out, like, I don't know, I could never live with myself knowing that the man that I'm dating And I'm looking, I don't know, 20, 22 years later, I'm looking at dates of like when these women are saying that they were ARD, or these men and women are saying that they are ARD, and somehow I was pictured involved going to events with them. I'm not going to look away from the fact that shit, I was the front, or I was dating him, or I was with him while these alleged victims are saying this is what happened to them. Hey, Cheeks, you ain't never lie. You ain't never lie about that. So it's like it's hitting me that I'm, because I was doing a J-Lo deep dive as I'm talking about this document. And it's y'all realize that the timelines that these people, just go look at their lawsuits and look at the dates and look at who Diddy was publicly with and parading with. And that would be J-Lo and other, who else? Who else were they with? So this is why, for those that are fans of J-Lo, this is why you get mad, because it's like, y'all realize, well, she could have been a victim. Really? Okay. Could very well be the case. But you don't get to stay silent and allow these women to just sit there. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. But anyways, let me stop because I'm going on a tangent because I was thinking about something else. Okay. Here we go. Continue reading this lawsuit. Plaintiff has suffered irreparable harm because of the brutal Ring by defendants in Sherman. Okay, we read that part. Did we? She suffered from severe depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. She has also suffered suicidal ideation and intrusive thoughts and has attempted to end her life. Plaintiffs lives in constant fear. She struggles with hypervigilance and experiences anxiety and panic attacks in social settings, preferring to be alone. Her need to hide to feel safe has strained her relationship with friends and family. Defendants' rape has also impacted plaintiff's ability to engage in sexual acts with her intimate partners. To this day, she cannot be in certain S positions without experiencing flashbacks of Combs violently penetrating her from behind. And this is a real thing for victims that I let me just say this, like, this is part of that flashback, that PTSD, that there are certain, like, you cannot engage, you cannot enjoy, you cannot, like, you know, if you're with your partner and you're consenting, it's very hard for you to engage in that because a lot of this starts coming through. And yeah, I mean, look at the vulnerability. Imagine knowing that billions of people are going to read this lawsuit and review it. This victim is vulnerable, and the people, and I think about it because I know we could sit here and we can joke about the baby oil and stuff, but you guys realize that that 1,000 baby oil bottles truly represents, does it represent a victim? Like, hold up, y'all. We can, you know, and I was thinking about this. I was like, shout out to Evil Queen who said to me, if you think about it, we are all, we tend to make jokes, we laugh at it, but if you start thinking about it, those baby oil bottles and the things that this woman is sharing truly represent, well, how many people were victimized through this baby oil? Like, we could sit there and we can laugh, and I get it, but how many victims per bottle? I hate to put it this way, but it's like my mind is going there, y'all, and I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you, Cheeks. That's my question. Think about it. Because even though we're sitting here and we're laughing, think about the fact that this is a victim who probably was just trying to repair and go about her business. And then she finds out there's a tape of her out there. This is not okay. I can't help but wonder if that's what it is. Here we go. Plaintiff learns that the R was videotaped and published. On or around November 27th of 2023, all the trauma of the R came flooding back to plaintiff when her former boyfriend revealed to her for the first time that Combs and Sherman had recorded and published the video of the horrific attack. Earlier that month, Cassie Ventura had come forward and filed a lawsuit against Combs for subjecting her to years of severe sexual and physical abuse. The case had been settled one day after it had been filed. Plaintiff's former boyfriend invoked Miss Ventura's efforts to hold Combs accountable and for the first time confessed that years earlier and for oh my god and for the first time confessed that years earlier, but some time after the actual R itself, Sherman and Combs had showed him and a group of men, some of whom were also employed by Combs' company and or their related entities, the video of plaintiff being R'd. So the boyfriend tells her that he was shown a video of the R'ing. He disclosed that Combs and Sherman had a pattern and practice of non consensually recording women engaging in S acts and making those videos available to the public, including by selling tapes as pornography. Yeah. So go figure why he did not want to speak out because he was also working, right? He was also part of like, what? Okay. He disclosed that Combs and Sherman had a pattern and practice of not consensually recording women engaging in acts and making those videos available to the public, including by selling tapes as pornography. A bad boy artist later corroborated in a text message that Sherman used to sell porn of him doing this to chicks and that Sherman did that to a lot of women. Plaintiff's former boyfriend reported that he and the other men watched the recordings of plaintiff's R on a handheld camera while at Bad Boy Studio in New York City. Combs and Sherman and some of the other men made derogatory comments about the former boyfriend's relationship with plaintiff in an attempt to shame him into cutting ties with plaintiff and to cause her further emotional harm and embarrassment. Oh my God. On information and belief, defendant continued to show the video of the R'ing to others over the years. And wow, I just, sorry, y'all. This is crazy. And through to the present and or sold the video as pornography. So they sold her R'ing as pornography. Okay, that's what they did. Mm-hmm. Well, how could you continue? But he knew, like he never told her. So for me, it's like, wait a minute. So you sat there and you watched it and you allowed. I don't get it. Like I don't. He, I'm like without words. He wanted to keep his job. Yes, there is, Abraham. You tell them, please. Plaintiff was shocked and horrified that Combs and Sherman had recorded and publicized a video of them R'ing her. After over 2 decades spent trying to heal and distance herself from the experience, plaintiff was devastated by the news. She felt as if her life had been turned upside down again, and like the R had been happening again and again, even as she was trying to forget it. She experienced acute psychological distress, plunging into a deep depression and having suicidal ideations. She felt intense fear and anger and anxiety. Plaintiff lives with the distress of knowing that the video of her brutal R is in circulation and that anyone, including her family, friends, and peers, could view it at any time. In a panic, she reached out to Sherman after learning about after learning about the tape, hoping to protect herself from further humiliation by convincing him to destroy the tape or to provide it to her. But he did not respond. He needs to be behind the bars under the jail with Diddy. He needs to be there. They need to be. Why? Oh my gosh. Combs' pattern and practice of violence and abuse, including drugging, R'ing, and secretly recording his violence acts against women. Combs has a long history of violence and abuse. This long-standing behavior has been enabled by his ownership and the titles uh, ownership of and titles at the Combs Corporation and their affiliate entities, and the immersed wealth and power he has amassed through such business dealings, which makes sense why this lawsuit is listing all the LLCs, and so that people know that a lot that Diddy and Sherman and all these people are Ring these people and victims, men and women, because I really believe that we have some male victims here that probably have not. We have some that have come out and some that refuse to come out. And I hope that at some point, all of this gets put out there and people are able to really understand the magnitude and gravity of this abuse that this man put these people through. Okay. Among a long list of allegations, in 1996, he was found guilty of criminal mischief for threatening a photographer from the New York Post with a gun. I remember this. In 1999, he was arrested and charged with second-degree assault and criminal mischief in connection with the beating of a record executive. They try to make this go away on the internet, by the way, but that's true. And arrested again the same year in relation to a shooting at a nightclub in New York. That female victim has consistently stated that Combs shot her in the face shot her in the face at point blank range. And while J-Lo has acted like this has nothing, she can go about her life. You guys, we need to listen. It's enough covering for J-Lo. It's enough covering for J-Lo. Okay, it just is. Combs also has a pattern and practice of using his power and influence in the music and entertainment industries to submit people to sexual violence, often drugging his victims and or coercing them to consume drugs, and recording the assaults, often without the victim's acknowledgement, just as he did with plaintiff. In the past year, a number of these people have come forward to accuse Combs of assault, violent R's, and or trafficking. Okay, they're going to list those details. November of 2023, 3 lawsuits were filed against Combs under the New York Adult Survivors Act. As noted above, Cassie Ventura, an artist that signed to Bad Boy, sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for R and years long of physical abuse, facilitated in part by Combs having supplied Miss Ventura with copious amounts of drugs and urging her to take them, beginning in 2006. Combs regularly recorded Miss Ventura's engaging in sexual acts he forced her to engage in. And it makes you wonder how many, there's probably a lot of, because Cassie's a victim, the tapes that are out there of Cassie, what we were able to see was this CNN tape, right? That everybody called Cassie a liar. Okay. Well, and some of those people have yet to apologize to her, by the way. Let's just put that out there. Joy Dickerson Neal, who had appeared with Combs in a music video, sued Combs in New York County Supreme Court, alleging Combs drugged her, sexually assaulted her, and secretly recorded the assault in 1991. Liz Gardner, whom Combs met at an event hosted by a record label affiliated with Bad Boy, sued him for raping her and a friend in 1990 and 1991 when she was only 16. That's another one that they try to make go away. In December of 2023, an anonymous plaintiff sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for drugging and gang raping her in 2003 when she was only 17 years old. It's another one that they're trying to make get away. Like, these are the ones that people don't want to talk about. These are your minors, you guys. These are your minor children. That complaint alleged that Combs and one of his business associates and employees lured plaintiff to Daddy's house through their affiliations with the Bad Boy Enterprise and its related entities, and raped her at the same location where Combs was R'd. Where plaintiff was R'd. In February of 2024, Rodney Little Rod Jones, one of Combs' former producers, sued Combs for forcing him to engage in unwanted acts, and as trafficking, among other allegations. In that complaint, Mr. Jones alleges that Combs regularly drugged others, including minors, by giving them alcohol beverages laced with ecstasy and other R drugs. And he believed himself was drugged by Combs, and that Combs routinely secretly recorded those encounters, those S encounters. May of 2024, two more women sued Combs. A former model, Crystal McKinney, sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for drugging and assaulting her at his recording studio in 2003. Combs had promised to help advance Miss McKinney's modeling career, a promise she believed he would fulfill because of his ownership of and or titles at Bad Boys Enterprise and its related entities. April Lampros, an intern at Arista Records, which was an owner of Bad Boy, also sued Combs in May of 2024 in New York County Supreme Court for R-ing her on multiple occasions, secretly filming at least one of the assaults and showing the recording to multiple people. Miss Lampros alleges that Combs ordered her to take drugs on one occasion before he R'd her. July 2024, former adult film star Audria English, who was employed by Combs as an entertainer at his infamous white parties that brought together the biggest names in the music and entertainment industries, sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for assault for trafficking, as trafficking, alleging that he required her to consume drinks laced with ecstasy, secretly recorded the S acts he forced her to engage in. In September 2024, singer and songwriter Don Richards also sued Combs. Richard was employed by Combs as part of the girl group Danity Kane, formed by Combs, and later as a key member of Combs' band Diddy Dirty Money. We read that lawsuit here. Yes, we did. She sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for assault, false imprisonment, and for subjecting her to hostile work conditions due to her gender, including degrading comments and threats. Ms. Richard has alleged that Combs regularly supplied others, including minors, with copious amounts of drugs and alcohol, subjected them to sexual assaults while they were sedated and or unconscious due to the drugs and alcohol. Wake up, people. We got a problem here with this industry. Like, oh my God. This is too much. On September 16, 2024, Combs was arrested at a Manhattan hotel after a grand jury indicted him on trafficking and racketeering. The indictment details show that for decades, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his desires, protected his reputation, and concealed his conduct. And this is straight out of that complaint, and they are citing it. It notes that Combs' abuse of women was enabled by the employees. The abuse was enabled by the employees, resources, and influences of this multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The indictment notes that Combs' business was operated at various times in both Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy, Combs Enterprise, and they list them over again. Collectively, the Combs business. According to the indictment, physical abuse by Combs was recurrent and widely known. It notes that Combs' assault on women, including striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects, and kicking them. Combs was also charged with using the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, cover up his abuse and commercial acts, acts. And the indictment notes that his employees' conduct was facilitated. And the indictment notes that his employees' conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs' control of the business. So you guys were facilitating. So all of these people, this Joseph Sherman, anybody under this enterprise needs to be taken down. They need to be exposed. That's what they need to do. The indictment specifically refers to the involvement of Combs' security staff, likely referring to Sherman. It notes that Combs and his affiliates recorded sexual assaults and controlled victims through the use of drugs. In or about March 2024, law enforcement seized narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant from Combs' residence. Combs' long history of violence against women makes unmistakably clear that his actions, including his attacks of plaintiff, have been motivated by gender. Oh, wow. By gender. Specifically, he has a profound contempt for women and an ongoing practice of degrading and trying to humiliate them. Combs' treatment of plaintiffs accords with his, oh my God, I can't even read, y'all. Combs' treatment of plaintiffs in accordance or accords with his pattern practicing of drugging, raping, and secretly recording the women that he's abusing. We've been knowing that. We've been knowing that. And they've been there. Everybody has seen what has happened. Thank you, Chico, for telling everybody, yeah, please keep the chat PG-13, even though the content is not really PG-13 and we're really talking about just some really horrific stuff that's being alleged in this lawsuit. I don't know I just don't know. Yes, please. Thank you, Tinkle, for letting everybody know. YT will flag. This video will probably be demonetized or whatever restricted it needs to be because we're reading this. But this is news that needs to be told. This needs to be said. This needs to be shared. You know, it's crazy because it's like we could see all this play out, but then, you know, when you bring it up to light and the way in which really exposes the people under this situation, then they want to censor it with like some community guidelines or some stuff like that. But you guys, we're all like watching this play out, and yet we want to censor the truth of when it's being called out. It's weird how, you know, the internet works sometimes. I know, honeybee. Please tell them out loud. Please tell them. But when we see it played out, that they don't want to censor that, right? But when we're talking and exposing it, that's when they want to censor it. It's very selective the way they do this. It really is. So we have the first cause of action. And by the way, this is only 26 pages long. So I will review this here real quickly, but it's always good to just kind of take breaks because this is a lot. So they put in here that the Gender Motivated Violence Protection Acts, plaintiff hereby incorporates each of the foregoing paragraphs as fully set herein by viciously and violently forcing S acts, oral acts, anal acts, and S intercourse on plaintiff. Defendant Combs and Sherman committed a crime of violence motivated by gender. Okay, so that follows in the Protection Act of the Gender Motivated Violence. The requirement that the crime of the requirement that the crime of violence be committed because of the gender and or based on gender due to at least in part due to based on the victim's gender is satisfied because defendant Combs and Sherman violently forced plaintiff to engage in vaginal intercourse. I want to know why Sherman is also not being charged more like on a RICO charge, like in a criminal aspect, because he needs to be. So they got this here of the first cause of action, which, being this, the gender being the issue. Defendant Combs and Sherman rapes R's of plaintiff presented a serious risk of physical injury in her and in fact caused her significant physical injuries, including burning and pain in her areas. Okay. And then they also tied her up. Keep that in mind. So she was tied up. Combs corporation enabled Combs and or Sherman to commit the crimes of violence motivated by gender because Combs and Sherman are plaintiff at the Bad Boy Studio. Okay. Where on information and belief they routinely committed S acts and gender motivated violence as detailed in other lawsuits. Given Combs and Sherman's long-standing patterns and practices of committing um, sexual violence against women, including at the same location where they are plaintiff, the Combs Corporation had or should have had knowledge of Combs and Sherman using the premises for their unlawful conduct and did nothing to stop it. So all those people, no consent was like, I'm thinking about it in such a bigger space, right? So they are harming, they're Ring victims. I'm just like, think about it this way. You're going down there, you're thinking that you're new talent and this is an opportunity, or you're there to support this enterprise, your boyfriend, whatever it may be. You're going in there and you're about to record your song or whatever, and then you're given this drink, and then suddenly this violent act happens to you, which is you didn't consent to. This happened to you, and then you don't know that you're being filmed, but you're being filmed. So you're not consenting to anything to be released or anything like that, right? Whatsoever. So all of this starts, you're finding out about this being a video about you after, this other lawsuit drops. So you don't even know that there's a video about you. You're made aware about there being a video about you after somebody else's lawsuit. And then your boyfriend, who happens to stay with the company, decides to tell you, hey, there's a video about you and people have watched it. You didn't know about it, but you're finding out about this video. Like, it's the timing is crazy. But the boyfriend is also not responsible for this. The video exists. Like, I have no doubt in my mind, because the boyfriend saw it and he's also a witness to this potentially, right? Just crazy. Just crazy. But I mean, just think of it that way. The Combs Corporation enabled Combs and Sherman to commit the crimes of violence motivated by gender by failing to properly supervise Combs and Sherman. Further, Combs, as the owner of Bad Boy and Daddy's House, watched plaintiff being R'd by his employee on the premises. Combs Corporation had knowledge and or should have had knowledge of Combs' widespread and well-known practices of committing assaults and gender-motivated violence, including on premise, owned and or operated by defendant, and did nothing to stop it. Did nothing. Nothing. The Combs corporations further enabled Combs and or Sherman to commit the crimes of violence motivated by gender by actively placing, maintaining, and or employing Combs and or Sherman in positions of power and authority, despite the fact that they knew and or should have known that Combs had a widespread and well-known practice of committing assault and gender-motivated violence, including on premises, owned and or operated by defendants. Okay, so for those that are saying, well, who is what? Joseph Sherman is an employee. Turns out that Joseph Sherman is also videotaping these acts and then basically selling them as pornography, selling crime as pornography. That's what he was doing, which to me, I'm like, he also needs to be under the jail. I mean, that's a federal crime right there. Why isn't he under the jail? Like, this can't be the only one. There's probably other ones, right? There has to be. The Combs Corporation, who also enabled Combs and Sherman to commit the crime of violence motivated by gender, because Combs and Sherman used plaintiff's boyfriend's employment as an executive for Bad Boy and Daddy's House and their stated concerns about his performance at work to lure plaintiff out of her home to meet with them alone. So boyfriend kept his job. They knew. Boyfriend kept his job, and he was, like telling her, like, listen, he was watching this video of them. Like, he was like, I don't get it. He also didn't do anything about it, because that's what I thought too, right? Because I'm hearing, and we're gonna go up there too. I don't want to misread this, but I thought he was also part of it too. But then there's a video. So was he also part of the video and then stayed at the job and then they were making fun of? So was he partaking? Was he also drug? I just want to know. I got to go back here because I might have missed that part too. I think that's a question that we all want to know, Team Maker. Like, what happened exactly? But, some people stay in those positions. And then did they also have children? Is this the child that they had together? Was there other children? Maybe Vic, that's why he stayed there. Maybe he knew about it and then they used that tape as blackmail against him. That could very well be the case too. Right? Very well be the case. Okay. So, on information and belief, plaintiff alleged that defendants' organizational does 1 through 10 inclusive, are other parties not yet identified who have enabled Combs and or Sherman to commit the crime of violence motivated by gender in the ways articulated above or in other ways. As a result, defendants' actions, plaintiffs suffer damages in an amount to be determined at trial and pursuant the fee shifting provisions of the statutes. Okay, so then here is the second cause of action, violation of New York civil rights. So let's see, by R-ing plaintiff and recording it, defendant caused plaintiff to be depicted in a video image unclothed and with intimate body parts being exposed and engaging in sexual conduct with another person in violation of the civil rights law. New York civil rights law. Defendant published and disseminated the video without plaintiff's knowledge or consent. That's the bigger thing, right? On information and belief, defendant have continued to disseminate the video, including by selling it as pornography. That was, I don't understand how that's not a crime, because that, to me, that sounds like a huge crime right there. Though, excuse me, plaintiff was fully identifiable in the video. Plaintiff had a reasonable expectation that defendant would not secretly record a violent R-ing of her and disseminate the videos to others. By intentionally publicly humiliating plaintiff and trying to ruin plaintiff's romantic relationship with her then boyfriend, this is where the boyfriend comes in. When they published the video, defendants had the purpose of harassing and annoying and or alarming plaintiff. So I'm going to go back up to, I think it was like paragraph 5 or 6, where it clearly gives that outline a little bit more. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's actions in violation of New York civil rights law, plaintiff has suffered and continue to suffer emotional harm, including mental anguish, emotional distress, humiliation, and the amount to be determined at trial. Okay. So let's keep going. Third cause of action is violation of the New York City Administrative Code. And you imagine Combs and Sherman. So it's all in New York City, right? Didn't he get the key to the city? This is why I'm like side-eyeing Eric Adams. Hold up. Let me get Mr. Eric Adams over here. This is the man who's received the key to the city, yo. I'm going to forever, I should put this picture up every time we review a new lawsuit with Diddy. This is a picture. I want Eric Adams to be in this picture with Diddy. Okay? So we remember the layers of craziness, and Eric Adams is being investigated. Okay? Yeah. So we need to understand that some of these leaders willfully look away. Now, my question to you, are y'all going to look away? Because your leaders might, but are you going to look away? Not me. Not this rabbit. I'm not looking away. No. Third cause of action. All right, so here we go. By recording and showing others the video of themselves violently R-ing plaintiff, defendant disclosed an intimate image of plaintiff without her consent in violation of New York City Administration Code. Okay, Administrative Code. Defendants are covered recipients because they recorded and or caused the video to be recorded themselves. On information and belief, defendants have continued to disseminate the video, including by selling it as pornography through the present. Such intimate images depicted plaintiff unclothed and in intimate body parts exposed. Plaintiff was fully identifiable in the video. So there's a video, y'all. Okay, so everybody that's like, where's the video? There's a video. I believe it. Plaintiff had a reasonable expectation that plaintiff would not secretly record a violent R-ing. Okay, let me keep going down. Defendant intentionally disclosed and disseminated the video to plaintiff's then boyfriend and others without plaintiff's consent, with the intent to publicly humiliate plaintiff and ruined the relationship with her then boyfriend, causing her economic, physical, and substantial emotional harm. Okay. Defendant's intention in disseminating and publishing the video was to harass, annoy, and humiliate. And these are just repeats of what we've already read. Okay, so let me go down to see. So they are respectively requesting compensation, punitive damages, attorney fees, pre and post judgment interest fees, all these other fees. And this is what we have. And the office is from Gloria Allred. Y'all see that this lawsuit doesn't have any pictures? Y'all see that? Gloria Allred representing this plaintiff by the name of Thalia Graves. Okay, now let me go back a little bit because we need to get some more information about this boyfriend and just understand the dynamics of this relationship, okay? So plaintiff was 25 at the time and dating one of Combs' employees, okay? So the boyfriend is one of Combs' employees. She was 25. A relationship that Combs exploited to lure plaintiff into meeting him and Sherman alone. Once they successfully sequestered plaintiff, Combs and Sherman gave plaintiff a drink, likely laced with the drug that eventually caused her briefly to lose consciousness. She awoke to find herself bound and restrained. Now, Combs and Sherman proceeded to brutally assault her and violate plaintiff. Combs mercilessly raped her anally, in all the parts, okay? Sherman forcefully slammed plaintiff onto a table, slapped her, and repeatedly thrusted his area in her mouth. Okay, both men were didn't care about her cries. Basically, we read that part. I want to get to the boyfriend. Plaintiff never recovered. She had suicidal thoughts and ideation, okay, received extensive psychological treatment because of defendant's attack. For decades, she remained silent and did not report the crime. So she never reported the crime out of fear that defendants would use their power to ruin her life, as they had repeatedly, explicitly threatened to do. To this day, plaintiff suffers from severe depression, anxiety, and panic attacks, okay, and lives in fear. Now, any progress plaintiff had made in healing from the attacks over the years was dramatically reversed on or around November 27th of 2023, when she learned for the first time that Combs and Sherman had video recorded that horrific R-ing 22 years ago or before, and had shown the video to multiple men and multiple men seeking to publicly degrade and humiliate both plaintiff and her boyfriend. To publicly degrade and humiliate both plaintiff and her boyfriend. Okay, now we're going to go to the events so we can get to that part and get some clarity. So, Sean Diddy Combs and what's his name? Joseph Sherman, were using this video to humiliate both of them. That's what it sounds like from what I'm hearing. Okay. Now let's go. And I believe this is where we get to the point of defendant Sherman, known as Big Joe, was employed by Combs as a bodyguard, head of security. For those that were wondering who was Sherman, he was head of security, and apparently he was filming a lot of the R-ings that were happening. Okay. It happened to be filming this R-ing. Now, Sherman is also founder of Rhyme and Dimes magazine, New York State registered corporation, and his connection companies. They distribute, I guess, pornography. So this is why I was like, we need to get into this right here, y'all. We need to get into this. Okay. So plaintiff met defendant Combs in or around late 1999, early 2000 through her then boyfriend, who was an executive at Bad Boy. Okay. In addition to working together, plaintiff's boyfriend and Combs had a close personal relationship. Plaintiff frequently visited her boyfriend at the Bad Boy studio in New York and attended events hosted at Combs' residence. Over time, plaintiff became familiar with Combs and he knew about her relationship with her boyfriend. Okay. In or around the summer of 2001, plaintiff received a call from Combs concerning her boyfriend employment. So Combs calls Thalia Graves concerning the boyfriend and his performance at work, Bad Boy. He told her he wanted to meet with her in person to discuss her boyfriend's supposed performance issues. Right? For me, it's like red flag, right? Like, why are you talking to me about my boyfriend's issues? Okay, I guess we're going to talk about his performance. Okay. Her boyfriend was determined to climb up the ladder at Combs Records label. And as his romantic partner, Plaintiff was committed to helping him. Plaintiff agreed to meet with Combs. In retrospect, it was evidently a sick and twisted way of using his ownership of and the title at Bad Boy and his affiliate entities to abuse Plaintiff and also show his power and ability to humiliate her boyfriend, his executive. So the boyfriend at that time was the executive, a Bad Boy. Okay, I'm kind of curious. Hold up, let's see. And what year was this? In 2001, which, by the way, is the time frame of, is it Harv? Stage name Joe Hooker is a record executive. Is that who it is? If anybody in the chat, let me know if you find it, because that's what I was able to pull, that was, he's not named by name here, but he's named in other lawsuits. Matter of fact, he's named in Don Richards' lawsuit. Is that the same one? You can look this up and it could tell you who was Bad Boy executive back in 2001. Let me know if you guys find it or if you know who it is, because I want to make sure I'm naming the correct person. A few hours later, Combs arrived at plaintiff's mother's residence in Queens with Sherman, who was employed by Combs as his bodyguard at the time. Sherman was driving the SUV. Combs was in the back seat. After plaintiff entered the vehicle, Combs offered her a glass of wine. So this is when they drugged her. Okay, and Combs began discussing his alleged concerns about her boyfriend's performance at work. Okay. Meanwhile, as plaintiff drank what had been handed to her, she started to feel lightheaded. Okay. So they drove her to the Bad Boy studio in Manhattan. All right. No way. Really? So Gloria Allred has a press conference at 2:30. So thank you for the heads up. I'll look into her IG here in a minute. When plaintiff regained consciousness, I'm looking to see. So he stayed as the executive. If it's the same guy that I'm thinking, which is Harv Pierre, he stayed as the executive throughout this time. And so they were using that video to shame him. This R-ing video. It's Thalia Graves. That's who it is. Hold up, y'all. Let's look into I'm gonna have to head out here in a little bit, but I want to make sure I find this information. Javier, Javier B, can you tell me, where did you see that she was having a press conference? I can look it up. So this is, and Gloria Allred does do press conferences, so I'm not at all surprised. So Gloria Allred, yada, yada, yada. Gloria Allred. I'm looking to see her law firm. This is her law firm. Hold up, y'all. Let me stop sharing that. Okay. Vlogs. Here we go. They haven't even uploaded their lawsuit video. I don't see anything about us. And typically they would have announced something at this point. Javier, where did you see that there was a scheduled press conference? Now I can go to her IG too and her social media. See if she has it on Facebook. Hold up, y'all. Gloria Allred. Here it is. Follow. She hasn't posted anything on Facebook, so maybe she's not on Facebook. Let me see if she's on Twitter too. Shout out to everybody that's watching us from Twitter. Can you guys do me a favor and please hit that like button, please and thank you. Gloria Allred. Here it is. Okay. I don't know where you said. I mean, she does hold press conference. That's why I want to find out. But I don't see that she's scheduled anything whatsoever. Javier, are you in the chat or are you just letting us, giving us weird information? Gloria Allred. Hold up. I'm going to need a receipt. I mean, so far, we're the only ones on Twitter talking about this lawsuit, by the way. Shout out to us. Nope, nothing has been posted about her going live or having a press conference. But if I do find one, I'll definitely let you know. Thank you so much, Time Traveler, for letting everybody know. Please hit that like button. Yeah, but he was not Shine. Hold up. I think it was Shine was only there for like a brief, but I don't think it was like a executive. Hold up. Let me tell you what I typed. Who was, I'm pretty sure it was Harv. Harv P, is it Pierre? Harv Pierre. I can never get his name right. This guy right here. This is the guy they're talking about. This is him. This is who they're talking about. So he was essentially, he was the boyfriend and they were using that video to get at him. New York Post. Thank you. Thank you, Joanna. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Shout out to everybody. All right. Hold up, y'all. Let's see. New York Post. Press conference. Gloria Allred. Damn. See if we find it. Yeah, I forget New York Post has a YT channel. New York Post press conference. Gloria Allred. Yep, it's there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here it is. It's not until like an hour from now, guys. So I might go live again so we could review this press conference. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, love. Shout out to the plainest Jane. Thank you, love. Shout out to the plainest Jane, guys. Drop some hearts and drop Jane's channel in there. Guys, I'm going to have to go. I just wanted to review the lawsuit, but we're definitely going to review this press conference here in a little bit, I guess. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this. Shout out to everybody. I do apologize. I did get a little triggered reading that because it's like, it's not okay. It's not okay. And, you know, people need to speak out. I just hope, and we need to support these people. I honestly feel like it's just not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay, y'all. It just isn't. So again, for those that are wondering, shout out to Jane. She actually gave me the heads up about Matthew Russell Lee posting the lawsuit in his Patreon. And Matthew Russell Lee is from Inner City Press. For those that don't know, he is like a true journalist. Honestly, y'all go check him out. You know, if you want to get up on a lot of the Diddy stuff, because I think that's where a lot of us are pulling it from. You know, he's the person to do it. He's doing the work out there too. So shout out to him, and I just wanted to give him credit for doing all this and allowing us creators to talk about it as well. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for supporting me. You guys have a good one. I will try to go live on this press conference. All right. See you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. Bye.